He starts missing you not because you're beautiful, but because you disappeared in a way no one else dares to. There's a strange truth that psychology has long understood, yet the modern world is only beginning to grasp. People don't miss you because of your presence. They miss you because of the space you leave behind. Imagine walking out of his life. No drama, no begging, not even a goodbye, just silence and the quiet glow of pride. That kind of absence, it's unforgettable, because the woman a man craves isn't the one who stays to comfort him. It's the one who knows when to step away, and leaves behind an echo no one else can touch. And today, on Shining Mirror-LVB, we'll dive deep into 8 powerful psychological truths. The very truths that make a man miss you not just with his memory, but with every beat of his heart. When you leave at the right time, without a warning, you don't need to scream. You don't need to cry. You don't need to explain yourself. You just rise and walk away the moment your self-worth is no longer honored. And in that moment, you become the most unforgettable silence he's ever known. Why? Because in a world full of people begging to stay, you walked away without a word, without a scene, without regret. You didn't leave to be chased. You left to protect the woman you are. That's not weakness, that's power. The kind of power that lingers in a man's mind long after you're gone. He doesn't remember you because you broke him. He remembers you because you were the one thing he couldn't keep, and the only one who chose herself. When you let him come to you, instead of always being there, a man doesn't fall in love with your presence. He falls in love with your absence. When you disappear, you don't leave, you haunt. You leave a void so sharp, it echoes in his soul. He sees your shadow in every face. He hears your voice in silence. This is not a game. This is feminine wisdom, ancient, silent, irresistible. You are not cold, you are calm. You are not avoiding, you are free. And that freedom, it becomes the chain that binds his heart. In distance, your memory is glorified. He doesn't just remember who you were, he remembers how you made him feel. The softness of your glance, the whisper of your laughter, the mystery that made him feel like a boy again, chasing magic. You're not the woman who looks for a man. You're the woman who makes men lose themselves trying to find you. When you make him feel safe, without ever forcing it, you don't invade, you don't demand, you don't try to dig into every thought he has or control his next move. Instead, you become a space where he can breathe, where he can take off the armor he wears for the world, where he doesn't have to be the strong one, the stoic one, the perfect one. With you, he's not a warrior. He's a man, raw, vulnerable, real. But here's the twist. Men often don't recognize emotional safety until it's gone. Only in your absence does he feel the weight of what he lost, not just a woman, but a sanctuary. And that's when he starts to miss you deeply, not for how you looked or what you did, but for how he felt when he was finally allowed to be himself. When you speak through energy, not just words, you don't have to ask him, "Are you okay?" You simply place your hand gently on his shoulder, just enough not to make him retreat. You don't analyze, you don't explain, you just show up, with an open heart, with eyes that can listen even in complete silence. And in that moment, he feels lighter, without knowing why. He won't remember what you said. He'll only remember how it felt to be near you, like coming home to himself. A woman who can read the silence, who listens with her soul, is unforgettable. She doesn't interrupt, she doesn't impose, she responds not to his actions, but to his emotions. She feels his pain before he even realizes he's hurting. She's a mirror of emotion, undistorted, non-judgmental. She doesn't try to fix him. She simply makes him believe, "Here, I can be me." And in that moment, logic surrenders, and the soul slips into a connection that has no name. When you hold a world that doesn't revolve around him, you don't need him to breathe. You don't need a morning text to start your day. You don't need an embrace to validate your worth. You are already a universe with a smile, with passion, with dreams no one has touched yet. And strangely, because you don't need him, Your presence becomes magnetic. You're not rushing. You don't cling. You love with freedom, not from emptiness. You don't chase, but you don't retreat either. You simply walk with a gravity that makes him turn around. Because you live with true fire, you can quietly disappear for a day, not as punishment, but because you're living your own life. And that confuses him. When you don't need him to feel whole, he ends up wanting you more than anyone else. You don't seek attention. You don't fight for position. You simply choose to love from a place of fullness. And when a woman can love like that, she becomes a wind no one can catch, a melody that cannot be rewritten. That's the kind of woman a man never forgets, no matter how far he goes. When you show up real, without pretending, you don't fake smiles, you don't hide your hurt, you don't wear masks, you don't play roles, you simply are, fully, unapologetically, in a world that favors filtered photos over real lies, edited stories over raw truths. Your authenticity becomes a rare and beautiful rebellion. When you dare to say, "I'm not okay today," you give others permission to breathe. When you allow your tears to fall, you invite others to feel their own. And when you smile, not because you should, but because you mean it, you remind people that life, even in its mess, is still achingly beautiful. You don't have to be strong all the time. You don't have to be perfect. You only have to be real, and that alone makes you unforgettable. Because true connection isn't born from appearances. It's born from the courage to be human. When you don't just notice, you offer value. You don't love his strength because it's impressive. You see beyond the armor, into a soul quietly fighting its battles. You don't cheer him on with loud praise, but with steady eyes that say, "I believe in you." You're not there to fix him. You're there so he remembers he doesn't need fixing to be enough. And then, in the cold silence of lonely nights, it's not your image that returns, but your presence, the echo of your voice that once whispered, "I see you," the memory of your touch that made the weight a little easier to bear. You don't have to be the light of his life. You only need to be the reminder that light still burns inside him. When you leave with grace, without blame, no anger, no bitterness, just one final look, as if to say, "I gave you everything." You don't need to win. You just need not to lose yourself in a fight that never deserved you. And when you walk away, without accusation, without tears shed in front of him, that's when he begins to realize what he truly lost. You don't slam the door. You let it close gently, but leave behind a sliver of light only you could bring. No goodbye cuts deeper than the silence of someone who once saw your soul and chooses to leave without needing to be seen. He won't miss the woman who cried for him. He'll miss the woman strong enough not to need him, but who once chose to love him anyway. You don't need to be remembered if you've never truly lived as your authentic self. What haunts people is not perfection, but truth, not the sweet words, but the piercing gaze that saw through them. Not the kindness, but the courage to walk away when staying would have been easier. You're not remembered because you were nice. You're remembered because you were real. Because you dared to walk away. Because you left a feeling, not just a memory. Because you never lost yourself, even when your heart was breaking. Psychology doesn't lie. The ones who leave in silence echo the loudest. Take action now. If you've ever been the woman who made someone wake up after you walked away. Speech balloon, share your story in the comments below. Let the shining Mirror-LVB community grow wiser through your truth. And if this message stirred something deep inside you, don't forget, like this video, subscribe to Shining Mirror-LVB, share it with the strong woman you know, or the brave woman you used to be.